dare. Figlia mia, cosa dare, mamma mia, pensaccia tu. Se te veglia lo pesciaiolo, isso va, isso viene, se lo pesce a manatena. Se ci ingappa la fantasia dei pescioli, a vecchiuzza mia.
Now you're cooking with Rocco, yeah. He's everyone's favorite professional, unprofessional chef. Ow! Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. Where's my duct tape? Yow! Alright, today I'm going to teach you how to make mussels. Okay, not those kind of mussels, but the mussels that come from the sea, obviously. This is actually kind of a second part to a first part series. Don't you like that? First part, second part series makes me sound very official. In any case, this kind of piggybacks off of my recipe for making an artichoke, because I came up with the idea with we had some leftover vegetables, end pieces, carrots, celery, turnips, garlic, and I used all that to steam the artichokes that we had that day. And I was like, well, I got all this stuff left over, I had to do something with it, so we have mussels, so I used some of it to make a mussel dish that was really popular. Everybody seemed to like it, and I wanted to go over how I use those different ingredients to do my version of mussels. I'll do a whole video on different mussel dishes because there's a 1,000 different ways you can do it. It's really great for the summertime. That will come up on summer, so I want to show you basically how to get started and how to prep your mussels. So I will start doing that right after this. Alright, now when you're buying mussels at the store, they usually come in a bag. Some places, a fishmonger, might be able to get them individually, or they have them separated and they've been pre-cleaned. But I'm going to assume that you're getting them at Kroger's or Publix or something like that. So what I like to do is I pick up the bag. It looks probably funny, but I pick the bag and I like to smell it. Like, give it a good sniff all the way around, because if mussels goes bad, they are really bad, and actually they can be dangerous. They're probably one of the very few foods that I take seriously when it comes, like, if it's a little bit off, I don't eat it. I'm kind of like a junkyard dog. I can take anything, but I don't mess with mussels, and I don't mess with like bad chicken. So in any case, give it a good sniff. If it smells the least bit fishy or off, pick another bag or go somewhere else. It's not worth eating, not worth fooling with. So let's say you get the bag that you like, and you bring it home, you take it out of the bag. I always individually wash each one. So what I'll do is I'll pick them up, like, put them in a colander in the sink, and I just run them under water. Get some of the grit. Some of them times are kind of gritty. And then what you also want to do is you want to feel for what's called the beard. I know it sounds weird, but fear the beard. What you'll find, this is a particularly good batch. It took me a while to find a good example, but you'll see this. Basically, this is what attaches them to whatever structure. I use their farm raised on, so like a grid. So, or rocks, in the ocean. So sometimes you have really bad ones. Like I'll have to use tweezers or pliers to pull them out. So basically, you want to make sure they don't have that, because it's gritty and it's got sand in it. And it, I had one once, I chipped a tooth. So you just want to pull it out and make sure, just go through all of them to make sure you get these out. And the second thing you look for are open mussels. If they're open like this and they don't close, they're dead. And going back to what I said before, you don't want anything to do with a dead mussel. There are, first of all, easiest thing is they'll screw up a whole batch of mussels. Worst case is, they'll make you sick. So if you squeeze them like this and they don't retract, then you know it's bad. You want to chuck them. Usually bags got a couple of them. Like I said, this is a particularly good batch I got here in Astoria. So anyway, so we got these all cleaned and all ready to go. So we'll bring you to the next step on what we do with these and my leftover stuff from my episode on the artichoke. So coming right up. Now this next step is super easy. So remember that stuff that I had left over from the artichoke recipe? And if you don't, just watch that video and you'll see. This is the than a leftover broth and vegetables that I had. I'm going to use it and some white wine to steam these mussels. So basically going to put all this in here. Not all of it actually. I'm going to put all the liquid and just, I don't know, some of the vegetables. You don't need all of them. It'll be too chunky if it gets too messed up. And I just like having a little bit there to give it some body. I took the lemons out, by the way, because I found that if you cook with lemons with the rinds on them and you cook them for a long time, like the artichoke was 45 minutes, it gets it starts to develop a bitter citrus kind of flavor. So I took those out. This is already about as citrusy as I would want it to be. So basically, I'll get this up to a light boil with some white wine. Of course, some for the chef. And we'll put the mussels in there, and I'll kind of walk you through how to do that. And also, you want to, it's kind of easy to make this mistake. This looks like an awfully big pan for not a lot of mussels. You got to make sure you got something that's got a high enough wall or a top, because when they open, you got to give them room. And I've done it in a skillet. I put a lid too tight, and you can't. You kind of force the shells down, so they don't have enough room to kind of pop open. So anyway, make sure you got a big enough vessel. It could be a stock pot. Depends how much you're making. I'm just one person. How much can I eat? And this, so I'm just doing it in this one pot. So anyway, we'll show you the next step coming right up. All right, now I got my cooking liquid up to a simmer, a little bit more than a simmer. You can see, I don't know what the quantity of liquid is, but I mean it's covering the bottom. It's more than enough. And you got to realize too, when you're cooking these, they're going to release liquid, so you're going to end up with more liquid than you started, which is a good thing because I'll teach you what to do with that. And that's actually, some might say it's the best part about the mussels, is it kind of makes a soup afterwards. And that's where kind of the final piece to this whole two-stage recipe comes, is the soup that it makes after you're done with the mussels. So, in any case, we're about ready to put the fellas in here into the hot tub. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a second, those are weird-looking mussels. Well, they're not. They're Manila clams. They're little. They have about the same cooking time as a mussel. They're really tasty. This guy almost clinched down on my finger. So anyway, they had some at the store. I figured it adds color. It's pretty, and it tastes good. So technically, this is a mussel recipe, but you throw in a couple clams, nobody's going to complain. So yep, you just put them all in there. Kick them around a little bit. So it looks a little bit like that. And then put a lid on it. So, in any case, put a lid on it. I turn the heat down a little bit. It doesn't need to be full blast. And the cooking time kind of depends. I mean, if you're going to be a specialist about it, I think it's like 3 minutes or something. I always overcook mine unless I'm cooking for just myself. Again, going back to that whole thing about bad mussels. And sometimes maybe people at your party, whoever you're cooking for, is not really familiar with them. And they're a little bit easier to eat if they're a little bit overcooked than undercooked. And really the way to tell is if they're open. So I'll give them a couple minutes to steam, and I'll kick them around like this, because sometimes, particularly the clams, sometimes they don't want to open it right at first, but you bang them together, they pop open. So give it, I'd say always give it, like 3 or 4 minutes, and then come back and check and see if they're starting to open. Sometimes they're almost like popcorn. You can hear them go boop, 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 boop. And once they've all popped, or you feel confident the ones that haven't popped, they're dead and you don't want to eat them anyway, we'll be able to plate. So I'll let these guys have fun in their hot tub there, and we will get back to them in about 4 minutes. Alright, now our mussels are cooked. Little mussel humor there for you. But literally they're cooked, so you can see they're steaming. See, they're all open, look like their little mouths are open, sort of. So what we'll do is plate them, at least get them off the heat. I like using one of these strainer spoons. And of course, like I said, waste not, want not. One of the best things about making mussels is this leftover sauce here. It's now real rich and thick. It's got that briny mussel flavor to it. So let's say you had some friends over or some unexpected guests and you don't have enough mussels, or you just have some mushrooms you want to get rid of. What I like to do is throw some mushrooms in there. Turn up the heat a bit because we're going to reduce this down a little bit. Anytime you're making a sauce, particularly at the end, if you want to finish it, a little butter always makes everything better, because don't you know, butter makes everything wonderful. Mushrooms only take a minute or two to cook. You just got to cooking them through. At this point, you can give it a taste, see if it needs anything. Maybe salt or pepper. That butter's perfect. You see, I didn't put any salt in the liquid that went into it because you're going to get plenty of salt from the seafood. Now, if I would have put any salt in there at all, it'd be too salty. So it's got that and the butter. It's a perfect combination. Generally, I would serve the mussels if you're doing like a group, put in a big bowl, like narrow like this, and then put a lid on it at this stage just to keep the heat in. And also it'll collect all that sauce at the bottom. And it can be like a communal soup where you have all that. And the best part about it is you dip bread into it. Some nice crunchy French bread or Italian bread. And you dip it in. Oh, a glass of wine is really, really good. Alright, so again, you can listen, it's making that sauce sound where it's kind of calling out to you, making a lot of noise, it's bubbling all the way through. We're not going to try to reduce this down to like an actual sauce consistency, but this is more than enough. So here it's real easy, you just pour it on like that. And what I like to do is, just for presentation, is I dice up some tomatoes, sprinkle a little of that on there. Just add some nice color. And then if you have parsley or something green, you can put that on there. I've actually got some arugula. I diced it up real thin. Now it might be a little robust or spicy for some people. What I find is arugula is once it gets some heat, like once it gets in with the sauce and then with the lemon, it's going to neutralize all that bitterness. And I just think it obviously has a lot more flavor than parsley. And if you don't want to do that, I think green onion, the green part of this, just chop some of that up. You know, if you had some left over, put that on top. It's a nice combination too. So, and it just makes it look pretty. I mean, it's not necessary, but I just think it's a nice touch. So. Anyway, we are ready to eat. Now it's time for my favorite part, time to eat. So we got our mussels here. They're very nice, very nice. And nothing really better in the summer than some mussels, some white wine, and some crunchy bread. So I'm going to start to get my snack on. And remember, folks, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm just an idiot with a decent knife and some spare time. Now go out there and make wow happen.